Here's a sobering fact. Over 380,000 Kubernetes API servers are currently exposed to the public internet, and most of them running default configurations. If you're deploying workloads to Kubernetes without a proper security strategy, you're essentially leaving your front door wide open in a neighborhood full of very skilled burglars. Today, we fix that. Hey everyone, welcome back to TechNuggets. I'm Aseem, and I'm genuinely excited about this one because Kubernetes security is something that keeps coming up in my conversations with DevOps engineers, platform teams, and honestly, in my own late night troubleshooting sessions. If you're new here, this channel is all about breaking down complex infrastructure and DevOps concepts into practical, actionable knowledge. So if that sounds useful, consider subscribing. You'll find a lot of value here. And hey, if you've ever stared at a Kubernetes cluster wondering, is this actually secure or am I just hoping it is? Hit that like button right now because same, that feeling is exactly why I made this video. All right, let's dive into securing your Kubernetes clusters from end to end. I'm going to walk you through this in four key areas: securing the control plane, locking down workloads, network security, and then secrets management plus monitoring. By the end, you'll have a complete mental framework for K8 security. Let's start where everything begins: the control plane. This is the brain of your cluster, the API server, its CD, the scheduler, controller manager. If an attacker compromises this, game over. They own everything. First thing, your API server authentication. Please don't use static tokens or basic auth. These are deprecated for good reason. Instead, use OIDC integration with your identity provider, whether that's Okta, Azure AD, or even Keycloak. This gives you proper user identity, MFA support, and centralized access management. Here's what that looks like in practice. On your API server, you'd configure flags like here you can see the code example on screen. Now, authentication is just who are you? Authorization is what can you do? And this is where RBAC becomes your best friend. The principle here is simple: least privilege always. Never use cluster admin for service accounts that don't absolutely need it. Create specific roles for specific tasks. Let me show you a real example. Say you have a CI CD pipeline that needs to deploy to a specific namespace. Don't give it cluster wide permissions. Instead, as shown in the code on screen, then bind that role to your service account. Specific namespace, specific resources, specific actions, nothing more. One more critical piece: HCT encryption. Your HCT database stores everything: secrets, configs, the entire cluster state. By default, it's stored in plain text. Enable encryption at rest by creating an encryption configuration and passing it to the API server with the to encryption provider config flag. Use AES GCM, or better yet, integrate with a KMS provider. And while we're here, HCT should never be accessible from outside the cluster. Firewall it. Use mutual TLS between HCT nodes and the API server. Treat it like the crown jewels because it is. Okay, control plane is locked down. Now let's talk about what's actually running in your cluster. Your workloads. This is where most breaches actually happen, through misconfigured pods and containers. First up, pod security standards. If you're still using pod security policies, those are deprecated as of 1.25. The replacement is pod security admission, and you need to be using it. There are three levels: privilege, baseline, and restricted. For most production workloads, you want restricted. This enforces things like no privilege containers, no host namespace access, must run as non root, read only root file tips. You enable this at the namespace level with labels. Take a look at this implementation on screen. Now, here's where it gets practical. Let's look at a secure pod spec. Here's what the code looks like. This container can't escalate privileges, can't write to its own file system, drops all Linux capabilities, and runs as a non root user. An attacker who somehow gets code execution in this container can't do much. Next, container image security. Only pull images from trusted registries. Use image digests instead of tags. Tags can be overwritten, digests can't. Implement an admission controller like OPA Gatekeeper or Kyverno to enforce these policies automatically. Here's a quick Kyber no policy that requires images come from your private registry. Check out this code example on screen. Any pod trying to use a public image, rejected automatically. This is policy as code and it's beautiful. All right, let's talk about network security. Because by default, Kubernetes networking is completely flat and open. Every pod can talk to every other pod. Every pod can reach the internet. That's terrifying from a security perspective. Network policies are your answer. These are essentially firewall rules for pod to pod communication. Let's say you have a three-tier application: front end, back end, and database. Your database should only accept connections from your backend. Here's that policy. Here you can see the code example on screen. Now the database only accepts traffic from backend pods on port 5432. Everything else is denied. A best practice: start with a default deny policy for each namespace, then explicitly allow what's needed. Here's your default deny, as shown in the code on screen. This blocks everything. Then you layer on specific allow rules. It's like building a whitelist instead of trying to blacklist every possible attack. For ingress traffic from outside the cluster, use an ingress controller with TLS termination. Cert Manager can automate your certificate management with Let's Encrypt. And consider a service mesh like Istio or Linkerd for mutual TLS between services that gives you encryption in transit for all internal communication. Plus, you get powerful traffic policies and observability. Final section: secrets management and monitoring. Because security isn't just prevention, it's also detection and response. Kubernetes secrets are base 64 encoded, not encrypted. Anyone with access to the namespace can read them. That's not great. You have a few options to improve this. Option 1: seal secrets from Bitnami. You encrypt secrets client side, commit them to Git safely, and they're only decrypted inside the cluster. Option 2: external secrets operator. This syncs secrets from external providers like AWS Secrets Manager, HashiCorp Vault, or Azure Key Vault into Kubernetes. The secrets exist outside your cluster, and Kubernetes just references them. Option 3, and my personal favorite for larger deployments: HashiCorp Vault with the Vault Agent Injector. Your applications get secrets injected directly, and Vault handles rotation, auditing, dynamic secrets, the whole package. Here's what a Vault injected pod looks like. Take a look at this implementation on screen. The Vault Agent sidecar fetches secrets and mounts them as files. Your app reads the file. If credentials rotate, the file updates. Clean and secure. Now, monitoring and auditing. Enable audit logging on your API server. Every request, who made it, what they accessed, whether it succeeded, gets logged. Send these logs to your SIEM or a tool like Falco for runtime threat detection. Falco is particularly powerful. It watches system calls and can alert on suspicious behavior, a shell spawning inside a container, unexpected network connections, file modifications in sensitive directories. Here's a sample Falco rule. Here's what the code looks like. When someone tries to exec into a production container, you know about it immediately. All right, let's bring it all together. Today, we covered the complete picture of Kubernetes security. We started at the foundation, locking down your control plane with OIDC, proper RBAC, and etcd encryption. Then we hardened your workloads with pod security standards, secure container configurations, and policy enforcement. We isolated your network with network policies, starting from default deny and building up explicit rules. And finally, we tackled secrets management with external vaults and added runtime detection with Falco. Here's what I want you to take away: Kubernetes security isn't one thing, it's layers. And each layer you add makes an attacker's job exponentially harder. You don't need to implement everything at once. Start with the basics, measure your improvement, and iterate. If this helped you understand K8 security better, smash that like button. It really helps more people find these tutorials. And if you haven't already, subscribe and hit that bell. Next week, I'm diving into GitOps security, how to secure your entire CI CD pipeline from code commit to production deployment. You won't want to miss that. Now, I want to hear from you. What's the biggest Kubernetes security challenge you're facing right now? Is it RBAC complexity, network policies, secret sprawl? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and your question might become a future video. Until next time, stay secure, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next nugget.